tracks today.
Yeah. I need them bands, run it up fast, stuffing them shits in the safe. Got me a spot out the way, nigga just tryna be safe. Leaving the house with the glizzy, nigga.
To the sports talk, is Matthew Stafford overrated?
Rated or underrated?
He's overrated. I understand when I say, well, how is he rated is the first thing you have to, but he's overrated. He's a good quarterback, but he's overrated. So how do we define overrated and underrated and all this stuff? Well, let's look where he was drafted and what the expectations are for someone like that. He was drafted in the first round as the first overall pick. He's the #1 pick in the draft. He's played in the league now 11 seasons. And then the rest of my argument sounds very much like your read, Charlie. Like, okay, you're the #1 overall pick. What have you done? Well, how many times have you won the division? 0. Okay, how many times have you won a playoff game? 0. Well, surely that must be the product of the fact that you don't have enough good players around you. Have you ever been to a Pro Bowl? 1 as an alternate? 1 as an alternate. How are you paid? As though you're maybe the best quarterback in football, as one of the top.
It's up to the ownership to get enough good players around him to take them to a next level. When you don't have enough players around you, you forced to do a whole lot. He's not overrated. He just don't have that much help there. His best wide receiver retired. Like, when you don't have that much help, it don't help you at all. That's why. Then too many people don't like to go to Detroit because they end up retiring like in 8 years or 9 years. But you can't say he overrated when he don't have too much help that come there. They don't have a running game. They need a running game to help him take the pressure off him. He don't have that much help.
2 or 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the game. So it's not that he's not good, it's that those indicators, and by the way, we've always said top 5 arm talent in the NFL.
So it appears to me that, like, your argument seems to me like one that would be from somebody who is not on a show like this. Like, the requirement for us on a show like this is to go a little deeper and not just look at like those top line numbers. If you watch him play, he's a very, very good quarterback. I'm not saying that he's Hall of Fame, and you mentioned that he was a #1 overall pick. I agree that he's underachieved for #1 overall pick, but the expectations change, the ratings change. So he may be underrated, or excuse me, he may be overrated for a #1 overall pick, but the expectations have changed. And they went down because they haven't been very good.
Since when have they changed?
I'm not going to put an exact date on it, but the expectations have changed.
I'm surprised about an argument on a show like this. Dominique, when did they change? Because he's paid as though he's the best quarterback in football.
To make when it changed. The point is, you need context, and we're supposed to understand that he's been dropped into a situation that is not great. You're going to say the Lions have been a historically great franchise.
They've won double-digit games.
That's the type of context. Go ahead, Will.
Hey, well, I'm just curious, what are the expectations here? Because here's the thing, I agree with you, he's not overrated, but you're losing me on your argument. What are the expectations, to Max's point, is you gotta win. Like, you gotta win something. A playoff game, a division title. You gotta win something. So what?
Yeah, you gotta win something, though. Like, how much money they paying you, you do have to win something. A division, a playoff game, you gotta win something to show you why they pay you that money. You just need help.
The expectations here.
No, that's the argument. That's the type of stuff that I'm talking about, where it comes down. You guys are smart enough to know that wins and losses are not determined by one position.
Let's look at it.
So if you're going to argue that he's not good because, or he's overrated because they haven't won a Super Bowl or they haven't won enough games, I think is an oversimplification.
Okay, hold on. I'm asking you. I'm trying to pin him down on when. No, but here's the deal, Max. Here's the deal. I disagree with you. I'm with Dominique on this. I do not think Matt Stafford is overrated, but I acknowledge that you have a very compelling argument when you can boil it down to wins and losses, because over a decade, Matt Stafford has given you very little of it. But right now, if you're asking me, which quarterbacks can you have from the NFC North? I pick Matt Stafford second. It's Aaron Rodgers, then Stafford, then Cousins, then Trubisky. If you're asking me which quarterbacks in that division have the most questions about them, I think actually Stafford has the least.
We know who he is, and I believe you can win with him. We need to see, can Aaron Rodgers play with his new coach? We need to see, can the Bears actually win with Trubisky? And we need to see if Kirk Cousins can push the Vikings over the hump. But I know that Stafford has a cannon for an arm. I know he's going to have a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, roughly, probably better than that. And I believe, here's the thing, Max, he reminds me, and hear it slowly now, he reminds me in a way of Tony Romo. Not as good as Romo, but if he were put in the right offense, an offense that relied on the running game and had Matt
See, I just said that. He need a running game. Every time you look up, he have to throw the football because they can't run. And they have to do, they don't have a good offensive line either. It's not just on the running back. His line is not good, haven't been good. They haven't been good for real. So you can't have a running game. They got a running back. It just, the offensive line needs some shake up. So he'll have to keep throwing every game. It's not because of he ain't got no running game. It's to have to do with the offensive line up front.
Stafford play within the confines of a somewhat conservative offense. I think Stafford is absolutely a quarterback you can win with.
I agree with the Romo comparison, and that's my point. Is like the conversation is like he hasn't won, so he can't win. That's the point. I think he's a good enough quarterback to win with. I think there are lots of other variables that we don't take into consideration when we talk about this guy. I remember when he was up for free agency or coming up on a new contract, the conversation was like, should they pay him or shouldn't he pay him? Like, I thought that was one of the most ridiculous. And that's why I feel like people think he's underrated.
Both of your arguments. You're both arguing that he's a good quarterback. I agree with that. You're both arguing that you rate him properly. Okay. But now we have to look at the objective ways in which he has been rated in order to establish whether he's over or under or rated just right. You're the #1 overall pick in the draft. You have one of the richest contracts in NFL history that was signed not that long ago. And you've been to 3 playoff games, which means you've had a team around you good at, well, maybe he led them there. Well, fine, but they were good enough to get there, and you have yet to win a single one, and you played over a decade in the league. So it seems to me that the world is rating Matthew Stafford as a better quarterback than he's actually producing.
Is Matthew Stafford a franchise quarterback? Is he a franchise quarterback?
Obviously.
I would say yes, he's a franchise quarterback.
Then he's worthy of the #1 overall pick, and you have to put that into the time and the frame in which he was taken. Second, the contract is a terrible way of going about ranking quarterbacks. It's when you get to the market window. It's why I believe it doesn't matter if Dak Prescott is a top 5 quarterback in the league. He's going to have to be paid that way in the short term. And then the league will continue to pay quarterbacks higher and higher. So the fact that Stafford makes $27 million a year doesn't rate him. It's not how we rate him.
Yes. Okay, talking about his contract. Ownership just need to put some players around him to be successful. He only had one good team around him. None after that. Don't keep going after his money. That don't have nothing to do with you rate him. Don't worry about that. It depends on what type of team he got built around him. They got to get stuff established around him.
Here's the rating. Stafford is about 12, 13, 14. He's about in that range of the league when it comes to ranking quarterbacks.
Oh, wait a minute. He went from, like, when we say good, we're talking about starting quarterbacks, right? So 12, 13, 14, he's outside of the top 10. Yes. That's not like MVP level or anything like that. Correct. And it's a little bit better than a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. I agree with you, actually, Will. I think if you said, is Stafford a franchise quarterback? To me, he is just the guy who is on the right side of the line of a franchise quarterback. To me, Kirk Cousins, the answer is actually no. Matthew Stafford, the answer is yes. But that is the line between Cousins and Stafford, and yet not only is he paid like an elite guy, not only was he drafted like a Hall of Famer, but
you can't compare him to Cousins. No offense to Cousins, he's a good quarterback, but I feel like he shouldn't have got that money. He got there and laid an egg. He ain't show why they paid him or anything for Minnesota. Matthew Stafford in a different established than Cousins. He's a better quarterback than Cousins. I'm just keeping it 100.
He hasn't produced when it's mattered most.
His numbers have been incredibly impressive since 2011. He hasn't missed a game. Only people who've thrown for more yards than him is Breeze, Ryan, and Brady. So like he is up there. I'm just saying.
See how he's rated?
We are not
talk about him like that.
No one does talk about him like that. That's
still
the point.
sometimes
Only
do.
I'm talking about him like that. No one talks about him like that because he's not that good.
Matthew
He's not
Stafford has
great.
always been top 5 arm talent. If only he could put it together.
No one puts Matt Stafford in the top 5 categories. Maybe when
not
you slice the
anymore.
onion that thin,
Except
how
for
good
his-
is his arm strength, but nobody puts him there. He's hovering between 10 and 15, as we just said. And I truly believe this. I 100% believe you can win it all with Matt Stafford.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure